Group of Bavarian princes are trying to take revenge on the British Empire for defeating them in World War II. But they need to do with modified Dracula first. Hello, my name is Melnibonean Menschklavier and welcome, my friends, to my review of Hellsing. Hellsing is a seinen manga written by Kota Hirano and serialized in Young King Hours between April 30, 1997 to September 30, 2008. It is based on an earlier manga, a dirty one at that, also called Hellsing, which was released in 1996. Also, several characters in this manga originated from different one-shots by Kota Hirano as well. An organization called Hellsing has been protecting the British Empire from threats of mostly supernatural or its up the sleeve is Alucard, a modified vampire possessing many abilities above average vampire. However, a rival creature hunting organization has problems with it. And the fact that from the perspective Anglican Hellsing is essentially a bunch of heretics is Vatican Section 13, Iscariot, and we see them clash on a few occasions. The newcomer to this conflict is Sarah Victoria, a young policewoman whom Alucard turns into a vampire in the first chapter of the manga after being forced to shoot her. She also becomes a much more prominent character in the second half of the manga, in which the true villains, Millennium, a bunch of Nemo-Germans, attacked them to try to kill Alucard and take revenge on Britain for defeating Axis in the Second Great War. Alucard, the star of the show, an enhanced vampire which was ritualized in violence and bloodshed, were adopted, while undoubtedly a power fantasy character, he has the beyond that. Humor in his undying cruelty towards Integram and being fairly polite and suave outside of his brutal battles. Another aspect that gives him depth is revealed toward the end of the manga. In his past, after suffering abuse at the hands of the Ottomans, he decided to make God come by sharing as much as possible. And when he was to be executed for his crimes, he was turned by making a positive some sort of a thing. Now he wants nothing more than to be defeated by a worthy opponent, making him, despite his incredible power, just a frail, sobbing child. Sarah's victory. The young policewoman whom Alcard has turned into vampire when he was forced to shoot. She essentially has this kind of character that is featured in work with moral ambiguous protagonist, which is the most moral character in the cast. Her other functions early on are comic relief and fan service, but she is given much more focus in the second half of the manga, when her battles becomes more prominent, and we learn that her being a virgin stems from a very traumatic incident in her childhood. Plus, she has a very good chemistry with Piper and Integra. Integra is the leader of the Hellsing organization and the boss to Alucard and Sarah's Victoria. She inherited the Hellsing organization from her father on his deathbed. She is an androgynous looking woman who through the manga and through the manga she is depicted as being a ruthless commander and a powerful woman who takes no shit from her opponents. She has a bit of a mystery of Alucard as well, especially in the epilogue. Walter, the Battle of Hellsing is a kind gentleman or a man who has quite a big combat potential. Seems to be a fundamental loyalty to Integra, right? Pete Bernard Dot, the leader of White mercenaries who were contacted by Hudson. He is a charming fellow and with a lot of chemistry with Saras. Anderson, the Iscariot answer to Alucard, a place possessing relative abilities. He is introduced as this over-the-top violent thug willing to kill Protestants, through being in charge of orphanages and that somewhat, but he's later shown to be more honorable paladin. In short, he's a really good, entertaining, and interesting character. Maxwell. Anderson boss and Catholic equivalent of Integra. He is introduced as more reasonable than Anderson, however he is later revealed to be even more extreme as a result of being born out of a wedlock. He is incredibly ambitious, and that leads him to commit an atrocity and being killed by Anderson himself. Major. the leader of the millennium. While he does not seem to have any attachment towards normal German politics, he does have a major love for war, even delivering a speech to his soldiers about it. However, he never directly participates in the massacres. He is essentially what happens when a hero in a monster telling stories and rebel monster himself, as he possesses a virtue of will as shown by him rejecting offer of vampirehood when offered at him to verge of death. A great villain, in other words. A catboy with quantum mechanics powers, who is currently for the money. Surely he won't have a huge influence on the story, right? Art has a few hiccups early on, but through the entire manga, it is extremely stylish with great expressive character designs and chiaroscuro style lighting in the panels. And while the goofy chibi style used for some of the comedy moments it's kind of distracting, it's kind of cute also in an ugly way. Spoilers. If you do not want to have the ending spoiled for you, go to the timestamp at the screen right now. Are you done? Good. So Millennium manages to get Alucard away from London during the massacre, during which we see the siege of Hellsing Manor, in which many wild die and Sarah's Victoria is manipulated by a powerful member of Millennium. But after willingly given blood from fallen people Bernard, she turns tables on the attacker and gruesomely offs her. Meanwhile, Maxwell sends his next indiscriminate attack on London and is eventually killed by Anderson, and Walter is revealed to be a traitor. Also, Alcott returns is ordered by Integra to release all seals on his power, revealing him to be Dracula himself, and realizing a giant sea of minions made from all beings that he fed from during his time as a vampire. His traumatic past as a slave in the Ottoman Empire is also revealed after this. Lisa Iscariot and Millennium soldiers are massacred by Alucard minions, and amidst all this carnage, he and Anderson have a battle. Got Helena's nail. Like a nail from Jesus crucifixion, to turn himself into something called Monster of God, in effort to win the fight with Alucard. He almost wins, but Seras runs towards Alucard to save him. And that gives our vampire enough willpower to defeat Anderson. Despite being truthful, Alucard is stuck with grief over Anderson losing his humanity. Meanwhile, Anderson dying laughs and says that since monsters don't cry and Alucard has become one so he wouldn't have to cry, he should be laughing instead. Anderson is also implying to see a vision of heaven in his dark moments and finishes by telling orphans that he had raised to act properly, a touching end for the character. Walter, who, as I said, was revealed to be a traitor to Hellsing some time ago, enters the fray and kills one of Anderson's subordinates when she attacks him. But while there are some hints of remorse, he becomes an enemy and starts his own battle with Alucard, while Ceres and Integra on to confront the Major. When confronting Major, Integra is pointed to his direction by Catherine, who then starts a battle with Ceres and is revealed to be a werewolf. During fight with Walter, Alucard draws blood from the fallen of London, and Ceres defeats North with help of Philip Brando, who is able to talk to her from within her, and we have this line. Meanwhile, Integra finds the Major and shortly adds himself to but Alucard is absolutely causing our Dracula to disappear, despite running calls of Integra. Ceres and Integra then kill the triumphant Major, who is revealed to be a cyborg. And Walter attacks Major Assistant's dog and destroys Millennium source of vampirism as Axe himself. We then see epilogue set in 2030 in which Alucard returns. What I like about this manga it is that it is an inversion of Monster Hunting story. Instead of story of Braveheart, Deputy and Will Olsen, we have story about evil but sympathetic monster and attempt on his life by an irredeemably monstrous hero. We see that the Major has created a masterful plan to kill Alucard even if it failed. And that brings us to the fifth major theme of in Hellsing. What is humanity? We see that Alucard says it takes a human to kill a monster. But he kills plenty of monsters, so he disproves himself, right? No. We see that in his fight with Anderson as the God's monster. Anderson almost wins, but Seras tries to help him, giving him motivation to defeat Alucard. Anderson, sorry, as Alucard himself had said in the beginning, he still has plenty of human reasons. Another theme is old versus new. Major refers to the Letz's battalion as an indestructible warriors of old, but the Wildlings are able to weaken them using modern weaponry, and Alucard eventually sheds some mystical power of his thousands of familiars for the specific quantum mechanics of Schrödinger. This is element from the original Dracula novel, not the quantum mechanics, the old versus new, and I am happy that Kouta Hirano did include it. Overall, the manga is not an intellectual exploration of human nature or anything like that, but it was on its themes of humanity and playing with the monster had a narrative enough that it is something more than mindless action. In other words, it is a great manga, 7 out of 10.